All right, welcome everyone. I'm so pleased to see new and familiar faces on the line, and I have the feeling that people will continue to trickle in for the next few minutes, so we'll welcome people as they join. My name is Caroline Kleinfax. I'm the Director of U.S. SDG Policy Planning at the UN Foundation, where I have the joy and privilege of managing the American leadership on the SDGs initiative. Through this initiative, we work to highlight leadership, resources, innovation happening across the country, connect it to the national and global scales as best we can, and try and build community around the incredible, innovative, and energetic work happening around the Sustainable Development Goals. As we get started, I just want to give a special thank you to Alex and Deborah, who will be our speakers today, and also to my colleagues Zoe and Naya from the UN Foundation, who are kindly offering their tech support and event management expertise as we get into this session. And I'm getting lots of beeps of people logging in, so could you guys just monitor the admittances from here on out? Thank you. So as we begin, I just want to let everyone know that we are recording this session with the intention that we will put it on our website today. So it is a public event. If you share your screen or your face, well, don't share your screen, but if you share your face, you will be recorded. If you have any concerns, please reach out to me individually. So the first thing that we're going to do is one of my favorite activities, just so that everyone has a chance to get to know each other. We will break out into speed networking rooms. So everyone will automatically be put into a room with 2 to 3 other people. I invite you to introduce yourself, share where you're coming from, and if you have a favorite SDG or other acronym that you love, you can share that with each other. And then after 6 minutes, you'll be hard launched, probably in the middle of a sentence, back into this public space, where we will hear from Alex and Deborah about their incredible work in higher education leadership on the SDGs at Carnegie Mellon. And then we'll have time for a discussion and Q&A from there. So with that said, I will launch you into the room. If you have any problems, just leave your room and come back. I'll be in the main room available to help with any tech support. Hi, Holly, welcome. We are in some networking rooms, so I'm just going to push you into one of them now and enjoy the conversation. Hi, Caroline. Hello? Hi, Gio. We're currently in. Hi, Gio. We're currently in speed networking. There's about 2 minutes left. Do you want me to add you in? Or you could turn on your camera and say hello here.
Hi, Caroline. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. So you guys are in breakout sessions, yeah?
Yeah, we're doing a speed networking. So everyone is just introducing themselves to one or two other people, and then they'll be back here in about 2 minutes.
I mean, if there's other rounds, I guess I'll join the next one. Yeah.
This was the only round, but you
Oh,
can chat with
okay.
me and say hello. I think we have a couple more folks who are in this catch-all space. So, um, Larry and HE, are you with us? We're just
Hi.
doing a little bit of speed networking.
Hi, Caroline.
To clarify, all the folks who've joined are currently in a networking moment, and then we will they'll soon return back to this group, and we will begin the presentation. So.
Sounds good. Thank you, Caroline.
Geo knows from my days at SDSN, I love the speed networking modality.
Yeah, it's a great icebreaker too.
And Larry, you have some paparazzi behind you, is that right?
Oh, just fellow tourists in New Zealand.
It's a beautiful picture.
Thank you. It was a beautiful place to visit.
Down mostly clear overnight, but we will have that.
We're gonna have to turn this off.
Hi, Mary, welcome.
Hello, I'm in the car.
Oh, we are just doing a round of speed networking, which means most of the participants are in breakout sessions at the moment, but we'll be back in about 40 seconds to begin the presentation. So you've come at a great time.
Thank you so much. Are you saying we'll be back in 4 to 5 minutes?
No, 30 seconds.
Oh, perfect.
It's just wrapping up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I'm really looking forward to this.
Where are you calling in from?
Calling from Minnesota, North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
And I
That's
teach
wonderful.
with the goals in my Spanish classes at NDSU.
Amazing. All right. Well, welcome. I think we have some folks coming back to the main room here. So I hope that you enjoyed the speed networking. I know you probably thought you were coming for a watching webinar and I forced you to speak, but I hope that you all got to meet someone new. And now we will begin and move on to the presentation. So I'm so pleased to introduce our speakers today. Alexandra Hiniker is the Director of the Sustainability Initiative at Carnegie Mellon University, where she oversees implementation of the university's Sustainable Development Goal commitment. Alex has 20 years of local and global experience in peace building, humanitarian initiatives, and pandemic preparedness all around the world. And she also led a global goals program in the New York City Mayor's Office for International Affairs, where she actually produced the world's first voluntary local review, which is a city-wide reporting on SDG progress. And since then, hundreds of cities around the world have produced voluntary local reviews, or VLRs. Deborah Steinberg has been an educator and leader in sustainability in nonprofit fields for over 20 years. She currently leads the Green Practices and Sustainability, she is currently the Green Practices and Sustainability Manager at Carnegie Mellon, where she provides vision, leadership, and action to advance campus sustainability. She previously worked as the Director of Sustainability Initiatives at Knox College and also as a science and environmental educator. She co-chairs the Higher Education Climate Consortium of Pittsburgh, serves on the Clean Pittsburgh Commission, among other leadership roles. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to you both, and I'm really looking forward to learning from you.
Thank you, Caroline, Zoe, and Naya for convening this event today. We can just go to the next slide, please, Zoe. And I appreciate all of you joining. I know that the early June is not an ideal time for a lot of post-secondary institutions, so it's great to see you here, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about the work that you're doing on the goals. But first, Debbie and I are going to talk a little bit about how we can get started on the goals. I'm going to begin with the UN Foundation guides that they asked me to create in response to the many requests for information that various institutions have made about how to get started on the Sustainable Development Goals at post-secondary institutions. You know, every institution is different. The goals themselves are totally unwieldy with 17 goals, 169 targets, and 232 indicators. So this is really a starting point for thinking about how you might get started or build upon existing activities on your campus. And I base these recommendations on our work at CMU, as well as the many other great institutions across the US that are already undertaking such work. Now, the guide is organized into 3 key questions with checklists and examples for people to follow as they embark on this journey. And from the outset, I want to emphasize that you're never starting from scratch. If you follow these guides, it will help you connect with like-minded people, not only at your institution, but also with people across the US and around the world who have shared priorities and values. So the first question is, why and for whom are you choosing to engage with the Sustainable Development Goals? Everyone has a different reason. The second question is, where and how are you already working towards the Sustainable Development Goals? And the third question is, what is your plan to implement the Sustainable Development Goals at your institution? I also produced shorter guides that specifically explore education, research, and operations, which we'll get into later in the presentation. And I'm very lucky to be joined today by my close colleague, Debbie Steinberg, who, as Caroline mentioned, leads our green practices work to help share how this looks in practice at Carnegie Mellon University. And I know that there are many other colleagues on this call with a wealth of experience who we'll hear from later in the next session, later in this session, excuse me. Okay, the first and most important step to getting started is to establish why you want to do this and how it will benefit your community. So in the guide, I listed out the various stakeholders that are typically on campus. That includes, students and faculty and staff, as well as partners like alumni and your broader community, wherever your university is based, as well as the university-wide ecosystem. And these lists aren't exhaustive, but they can help you think about who your potential partners may be and how they might benefit from engaging with the Sustainable Development Goals framework. Next slide. Now, at CMU, the Sustainability Initiative was launched in 2019 by Provost Jim Garrett, and this formalized CMU's commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals, which are also known as the Global Goals, which is a term that I prefer to use, easier to say. And this was in response to a call from students, faculty, and staff to establish a more centralized place to address our sustainability efforts. And the provost decided to engage using the broader definition of sustainability afforded by the Sustainable Development Goals that goes beyond the environment to look at social and economic issues. Now, the initiative started out in 2019 with a steering committee and advisory council. Dave DeZombach, who's on the call today, was our first steering committee chair, so I'm very happy to have him here. He's welcome to join in and share additional points that I may miss. And they hired me as the executive fellow in 2020. At CMU, we identified 3 key areas that we wanted to address, which were education, research, and practices that benefit our community. In 2022, the Sustainability Initiative transitioned to the libraries, where we found a permanent home, and which our Dean of Libraries likes to say is the Geneva of a university, because it's where all disciplines come together and no particular discipline owns the concept of sustainability. And I became the director. And even though I'm the sole staff member, I work with an incredible team of interns, and this initiative is founded on cooperation with partners across campus, including Debbie, of course, but also colleagues in a range of offices that are helping to contribute to the goals, among many others. And I can't emphasize enough how this work cannot be done alone. Next slide. So speaking of not doing the work alone, the next step in the guide is that you should review your institution's activities to figure out where there are existing efforts and where there are opportunities to do more. In the guide, I listed out the various offices that may be consulted in this process. Sorry? Though not all institutions have the same offices, so of course, you should tailor this to your particular institution. This is a really good place to start for internal cooperation. Things like the Sustainability Office, the International Office, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office, Student Government, Faculty Senate, Staff Council. It's really important to look at what they're doing to think about how that might be part of your work. And another helpful, next slide, please. Another helpful area to explore is whether or not your institution is a member of networks that are already addressing the goals. And so in the guide, I list out the main ones that I'm aware of that are working on the Sustainable Development Goals and incorporating it into their activities. At CMU, we primarily engage with the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, which Debbie will talk about in a little bit, the International Sustainable Campus Network, the UN Academic Impact, and more recently, the Association of International Education Administrators, which I want to thank my colleague Jolyn Shoemaker from UC Davis, who's on this call, for introducing me to and bringing me into those conversations that are looking at this at the global scale. Additionally, it's important to look at what types of reporting and documentation has already been done around issues that are related to the Sustainable Development Goals. It can be, of course, be university strategies or annual reports, but it also could be external engagement like ASHE STARS or Times Higher Ed reporting. And Debbie will get into the ASHE STARS in a moment. Next slide. At Carnegie Mellon, we decided to kickstart our effort by publishing the world's first voluntary university review back in 2020. Now, this is in line with the voluntary national reviews that countries are invited to present at the UN every year. It's also in line with the voluntary local reviews. As Caroline mentioned, this is a process I created while leading New York City's Sustainable Development Goals program at the Mayor's Office for International Affairs. It was subsequently adopted by some UN agencies, as well as hundreds of cities around the world. Now, publishing a public report isn't required, but it can be a helpful document on your SDG journey. Our initial VUR was a static document that focused on a specific time period, looking at surveys, exhibitions. We had 17 one-hour Zooms for the 17 goals. This was in 2020 when people were still excited about Zoom and connecting with other people. We did a desk review, bilateral consultations. We had the assistance of 7 students and 2 interns in the summer course. But our voluntary university review has evolved over time, and we actually just published our 5th one. You can go to the website and see the steps of how our VURs have progressed over the years. Next slide, please. For example, our 2nd voluntary university review kickstarted the transition to an online format. And this was a result of feedback from students, faculty, and staff who determined that CMU data collected and mapped to the global goals should be interactive and updated on a regular basis rather than presented in a static report once a year. So we created open source tools, we identified early adopters, and we hired a team of interns to work on these activities year-round. So now I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Debbie, to share more about her work and how we collaborate. Over to you, Debbie.
Thanks so much, Alex. So I'm Debbie, and I manage the campus's Green Practices program. So we are the environmental sustainability efforts on the Carnegie Mellon campus. So again, we have the focus on the environmental leg of the three-legged sustainability stool. And this focus on environmental stewardship on campus has really been around since the 1990s. So with the origin in campus operations and support services, this program has grown to include engagement programs for the entire campus community. So with the establishment of the Sustainability Initiative, as Alex mentioned, CMU's definition of sustainability then moved to the Sustainable Development Goals. So here we wanted to highlight the 10 main goals that the Green Practices program focuses on. Next slide. So here are the main programs of Green Practices, just to give a sense of what we work on. So the recycling and waste management, energy and water management programs, campus green design, including landscape, as well as our architecture and renovations and new buildings, transportation with a focus on alternative transportation means and greener transportation opportunities. And then the thing that we wanted to chat about most here, and it's the main opportunities for collaboration with the Sustainability Initiative, is two of our university commitments, the Second Nature Climate Leadership Network and ASHE's STARS program. So next slide, please. So Second Nature, the mission of the Second Nature is that they're committed to accelerating climate action in and through higher education. And one of their main programs is the Climate Leadership Network. So this is a program focused for institutions of higher education to commit to climate action by signing on to one of three commitments. Carnegie Mellon is currently signed on to the Resilience Commitment. Signing on provides access to resources and guides on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and helps you to chart a planning timeline to reach those goals. Next slide, please. So this is a sample timeline specifically for the resilience commitment. CMU signed on in the fall of 2023. So you can see we are just in the midst of completing our climate action plan. And so next slide, please. We wanted to use this to tell you a little bit of an example of collaboration with the Sustainability Initiative. So part of the climate action planning is we really wanted to give the campus community a foundation in what was already happening with climate action on campus as well as in the community. So we invited everybody to a learn and listen session where we basically a poster presentation on different initiatives and research and opportunities throughout the region. And this was hosted in the Sustainability Initiative's Sustainability Studio. So we collaborated on the space and being hosts of this effort. The Climate Action Planning Working Group also emerged out of the Sustainability Initiative's Advisory Council. So definitely a host sponsor of this effort. The listening part was us listening to attendees to figure out their ideas for the campus climate action planning. And so having a space to do this on campus really benefited to the success of the event. Next slide, please. So the next commitment we want to talk about is STARS. So Alex mentioned ASHE, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, which is the main association for sustainability professionals in higher ed. So they have the STARS program, which is a transparent self-reporting framework for colleges and universities to measure their sustainability programming. So again, this is more than just operational. It is a framework that looks at all points of opportunity of campus sustainability. Next slide, please. So there are more than 60 credits in 5 categories. Those categories are academics, engagement, operation, planning, administration, and then there's innovation credits. So here you can see really the breadth of sustainability that they're covering. CMU has submitted 6 reports, our most recent in January when we maintained our gold level. STARS recognized the Sustainable Development Goals in their version 2.2 technical manual, which they released in 2019. They recently updated, did a major update now to version 3.0 and have continued referring to the SDGs and aligning credits to the SDGs in that technical manual, and have also extended the opportunities for using the SDGs to help report on the STARS credit. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Next slide, please. So we wanted to give an example, like a specific example of how our collaboration in using the SDGs was used for our STARS reporting. So we're going to drill down into one of the categories. So again, academics is one of the categories, and it has 2 subcategories, curriculum and research. So we're going to drill down and get into curriculum. Next slide, please. And then here under the curriculum subcategory, we've got 8 credits. And so we're going to provide an example of our reporting on the sustainability literacy assessment, and Alex will start us off with that. Next slide. And Alex, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
I was giving people the chance to try and be able to read the things on the screen. They can't. So the Sustainability Initiative has been measuring engagement with sustainability since the first voluntary university review was conducted back in 2020, when the provost sent out a knowledge, attitudes, and practices survey to all CMU students, faculty, and staff. To drill down deeper into this information, the following year, our Office of Institutional Research and Analysis conducted focus groups with undergraduate, graduate students, faculty, and staff. And then we began establishing a baseline set of criteria to measure engagement and knowledge around sustainability at CMU using the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. Most recently, in October of 2024, we administered a survey for students, faculty, and staff on the Pittsburgh campus, which was led by our institutional research and analysis colleagues with input from me and Debbie, as well as our colleagues from the Student Center for Diversity and Inclusion. And I know you can't read this, but it's a helpful snapshot of responses, this one from students, asking them if they were familiar with the topics addressed in the Sustainable Development Goals as examples of sustainability. Now, the overarching findings from this survey were the basis for our 2024-2025 voluntary university review and will inform the next phase in our planning for the Sustainability Initiative. And it also helped Debbie achieve her goals through ASHE STARS reporting, which she can explain in more detail with the next slide.
Thanks, Alex. So yes, so this survey actually helped us with 2 credits. So part of the survey was asking about the sustainability culture and knowledge and what information it's sort of intention to act in behavior questions. And then half of it was then asking the literacy questions, more of a sustainability knowledge. So in our reporting, STARS is asking for the process. So we were able to report on how the survey was developed, how it was conducted, who was surveyed, and then a brief description of the results and how we used them. If anybody's interested, you can read more on our public report, which is accessible via this ASHE STARS website. And next slide, and back to Alex.
Yeah, and excuse me. And based on all of this information that you've collected, the next step in the guide is to develop and implement programming for your institution to help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So now, as I mentioned before, in addition to the intro guide, I created specific guides focusing on how you can further explore education, research, and operations on your campus. And I include options on how you can do these assessments, whether it's manual reviews, an automated system, surveys, in other ways. And I provide examples from different universities that have undertaken these efforts, so you can go explore those a little bit more. Again, I've just included snapshots of what this looks like for education, research, and operations. So, next slide, please. Finally, the guide includes suggestions on how you might implement programs that meet your institution's goals in collaboration with the new and existing partners that you identified through this process, and helping to engage the stakeholders that you identified in your initial consultations. Remember question 1. And this could include things like elevating SDG champions, creating programs and places for sustainability, centralizing information around the Sustainable Development Goals, or incorporating the goals into existing programs and strategies. And again, there are examples from different institutions and how they have approached this. Next slide, please. And then we get to my favorite part of the work, which is translating the analysis to action. So we've looked at all of this information, we've established the relationships, we've figured out what's going on across campus. So how can we actually translate that into practical things that we can do to help achieve the goals? Next slide, please. And we've done this in a few areas at CMU. The first is education, which is central to our commitment to sustainability. Over time, we've been assessing how courses contribute to the goals since the first VUR was published in 2020. We also began exploring how the goals could be incorporated into existing educational efforts. And one of the biggest ways that we've done that is the Core at 4, which I've outlined here, in addition to internships, experiential learning, and other activities. Because we found that there are many different efforts across campus to align various educational priorities. So we were really happy to partner with our core competencies team, who've incorporated the Sustainable Development Goals into their cross-campus efforts. And this is another example of where we can't do things on our own. We have to look at partners with shared priorities and figure out how we can work together. Next slide. When it comes to research, our libraries colleagues are central to our efforts. And I'm not just saying that because I'm based in libraries, but they're the first stop when you start thinking about how your research is related to the goals. Starting a whole new initiative to identify researchers working on the goals would have been a huge undertaking. So we built on these efforts by our research information management system colleagues. We, as a university, work with scholars.cmu.edu. Faculty can identify their top sustainable development goals, and this is searchable on the website for both CMU and external community members. This is in response to requests from the surveys and other research that we did from colleagues who said they wanted to find people who had their shared interests that were outside of their department or college. So anyone can use this resource, and I recommend that you check with your library to see which one they use. Next slide, please. Regarding university-wide priorities, sustainability was already present in the strategic plan, but in our most recent strategic framework, which was launched this past April, we incorporated sustainability across education, research, and practice as a priority with a specific mention of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I'm now going to hand it over to Debbie for the next slide to share a bit more about how she's implementing programming on campus that helps achieve the sustainability initiative's objectives.
Thank you. So I have a group of students, we call them SEED, Sustainability Peer Educators, and they're able to engage with the campus community in a number of different ways, from tabling to interactive learning opportunities, hosting orientation sessions. We have campus engagement sessions. An example is our goat adjacent yoga activity when we bring goats to campus as some environmentally friendly landscapers. We partners with our wellness team to host a yoga initiative. Next slide. So another example of collaboration is we host a green office certification program. And when we were updating the guide a couple of years ago, we made sure that each of the action items of which you are suggested to achieve would align with at least one of the SDGs. And so we highlighted the most common one, This program is a voluntary self-guided review of office practices. So this is a way of educating the campus community on making more sustainable choices with a little competition thrown in. And Alex will cover the next slide.
Yeah, so today we've been mostly speaking about environmentally focused sustainability, but of course the Sustainability Initiative looks at social and economic issues across campus. And one of our main partners is the Artists and Scholars at Risk program, which hosts artists and scholars who can't practice their discipline in their home country. So last October, I served as the lead content organizer for the National Scholars at Risk Conference, hosted at CMU, and reflected in the closing, in my closing remarks on the links between sustainability and academic freedom by referencing the links to the goals and reminded everyone in the room that they were also contributing to sustainability goals. Next slide. I've mentioned briefly that we've been focusing on our internship program and growing it over the past 5 years. Every year, I hire a cohort of interns, many of them returning, who focus on a range of topics from research and data analytics to communications and outreach and programming. And they form the backbone of our research and of our work, and I can't say enough great things about them, so I won't because we're getting to the end of our time. Next slide. We've mentioned a couple of times the Sustainability Studio in Hunt Library, where I'm based. This is a photo of the Sustainability Studio behind me. It's the brick and mortar location for the Sustainability Initiative, and anyone can use the space as long as their event is open to the public and they identify which goals their event contributes to. And we also conduct Sustainability Initiative-led programming, like our Storytelling for Sustainability series, which is a concept from one of our grad students to bring together the CMU community to discuss what sustainability means to them based on their lived experiences, because sometimes it's kind of difficult to make the connections between the loftiness of the Sustainable Development Goals and our day-to-day interactions. Next slide. We, of course, also conduct regular UN engagement. Just this past March, we attended a workshop hosted by the UN Academic Impact that connected students from Carnegie Mellon, Lehigh University, the New School, and New York University. And we'd love to connect with students at your universities so that student-to-student collaboration can continue, because we all find that really valuable for our efforts. Next slide. Finally, I just want to briefly share a newer initiative that was created and led by our Sustainability Initiative interns, which is the Pittsburgh Youth Leaders in Sustainability Network, that connects youth leaders at universities across the Pittsburgh region around a range of activities that they lead with support and guidance from the Sustainability Initiative. And these are just some examples of the types of activities they organize.